Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode in our Eco Champions Live webinar series. My name is Amber Artrip, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Energy Cap. And I wanted to first start out with a little bit about this Eco Champions community that we've kicked off and inform you a little bit about why we did this and what the community is. So we started this Eco Champions community to bring together energy, sustainability, finance, and even leadership teams who are working towards a common goal of decarbonization at their organizations. And we come here to these webinars, to live events, to other events to challenge each other, share ideas, and push forward together in building a more sustainable world. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Energy Cap, we are an energy and sustainability ERP that allows you to effectively track your energy usage and cost data in a single platform. So a few housekeeping items before we kick this webinar off is this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on energycap.com and sent to everyone who registered within 24 hours. If you have any questions throughout the webinar presentation, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you can submit your question there. Feel free to submit throughout the conversation, and we'll get to all of the questions at the end of the presentation. And if for some reason we're not able to get to your question, we will follow up with you. We'll have a team member follow up with you. So now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's special guest. Today's Eco Champion is Michele Markovitz, who serves as the Energy Management Analyst at Miami-Dade County. Welcome to the show, Michele.
Hi, Amber. Hello, everyone that's with us today, and thank you, Amber. And I know all of you have a really busy day, so spending some of your day with us today, thank you very much. And so I guess I'll start with a little bit about me. My education says I'm an environmental engineer. Somehow I always end up in the energy space. And I did start in the county, though, in the environmental resource management area, and I was working in wellfield protection and as an air permit engineer, which led me to working on the greenhouse gas emissions inventories. And then this work carried over to my next position in the Office of Resilience, working on county-wide initiatives and the greenhouse gas inventories. And then from there, I ended up where I am now in internal services, working as the Energy Management Analyst, my primary focus being Energy Cap and managing the database on behalf of the county and for my department. So I wear the two hats, the county-wide hat, overseeing the database, and then also serving my own department, internal services, and the needs that they have.
Great. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I didn't know if you wanted me to jump into a little information about the county.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about Miami-Dade County, their goals around energy and sustainability, and any other background information that would be helpful for the folks on the call.
Sure. So like many communities, we have a lot of goals. And so picking a few to share today, is a little challenging too. So I wanted to pick some highlights, probably ones that you all relate to. But a little bit about Miami-Dade County. As you can imagine, we're pretty large. We have probably around 4,000 properties, somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 buildings. And to manage the utility bills for all of this, we use Energy Cap. And in Energy Cap, we have, I looked it up to give you exact numbers, 9,607 active accounts. But we also are a repository for almost 3,700 inactive accounts. And with those accounts, because they can have multiple meters, we have over 13,600 meters. And we also have a repository of over 1,700 inactive meters. And just to let you know that Miami-Dade County is our electric utility. We're their largest customer. So Miami-Dade County consumes a lot of energy and water for, those 4,000 properties. And related to our goals, so, it all tied together, the energy and water that we use and trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So these goals are county-wide, which all the departments are working towards. And so on behalf of the county, we have an Office of Resilience that developed a sustainable buildings program to guide the development of the buildings and the infrastructure county projects. So they have prescriptive paths in there and some guidelines that the county departments need to follow. They're also working on a benchmarking ordinance for the larger buildings to guide tracking our energy and water consumption. And the county specifically is working to reduce our energy and water use by 20% minimum. And to help us and to have some fun, they launched a BE 305, BE for building efficiency 305 challenge, and it was a voluntary program with the goal of reducing the energy and water use by 20% over the next 5 years in large commercial buildings. While anyone can participate in reducing their energy and water, we've been focusing on the larger buildings first. And then under the current mayor, we have a climate action strategy that she released, and it was developed for our communities, basically our community's commitment to greenhouse gas emissions. Say that fast 3 times.
Twister.
Right, and so the current goal is to reduce the emissions by 50% by 2030, and the end goal is to be net zero by 2050, fulfilling our county's pledge made in 2021 to be a leading partner in that international race to zero. And so that's like a big picture. And then some of the some of the projects to help with those is the county has installed 14 new public electric vehicle chargers in our downtown garages. So in downtown Miami, you have the opportunity to charge your electric vehicles. And we've also completed a light fleet assessment identifying almost 800 county vehicles that are economically and technically feasible to transition to electric vehicles over the next 5 years. So that's pretty exciting. So over the next 5 years, we're hoping to transition a lot of our vehicles to electric and thereby really reducing some of those mobile transmissions, emissions of greenhouse gases. And I guess one of the last goals I'll share, while there's many more, this one is around solar, because a lot of us have that interest in solar. The county's been working on an on-site solar solicitation with opportunities to look at ground mount, rooftop, even floating solar at approximately 25 county facilities. This is a county-wide effort to increase our solar in the community, hoping to lead by example. So hopefully in the near future, we will have solar on our own rooftops, even some floating and ground mount. And of course, when I talk about saving energy, this also applies to water, right? Because when we save water, we save energy, the energy it takes to clean the water, to convey the water to the end user. So that energy water nexus is very important. So sometimes if I say energy, just know I also am really meaning water too. And of course, some of you out there are setting your own goals, or you already have your own goals. If you want more information about our goals or specifics about those goals, please feel free to reach out and I will direct you to the right people to give you more information.
That's great, Michelle. I loved that you talked about the nexus between water and energy, because, at Energy Cap, we track both, and we're constantly we're trying to find ways to weave water into our story because it's so important. And I love what you said. It's like when we think about energy, we're talking also about water and the energy it takes to clean the water and process the water and deliver the water. I think that's it was kind of eye-opening for me. I hadn't really thought about it in that way. So
it's very important. And it's a finite resource too. So, all the efforts to save water is just as important.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So let's back up a little bit and talk about technology. You've obviously been an Energy Cap customer for a while. The county's been a customer for a while. So let's talk about how you're using technology at the county to support some of these energy and sustainability initiatives.
Right. So for me, the technology that we're talking about centers around data, right? And having access to this data. And this data is important when we talk about these goals. And it's kind of crazy because before this technology, the technology that we had were spreadsheets. Most of us use spreadsheets, right? And I always say spreadsheet madness. And so you were always trying to keep track of your spreadsheets, making sure people didn't edit your spreadsheets with your formulas and the data, and you had various copies for different uses and different people. And so having this technology, specifically Energy Cap, has really made it easy to have all of our data in one place and use it depending on the situation, the audience, the user, and whatnot. And so, like many large organizations, the county being a large organization, we've had many processes that are decentralized and we're siloed like large organizations. And so working with the departments that are able to operate with some autonomy, collecting the data was always very challenging, especially as our county changed with administrations and over time, and really not having an overseer of the data and having it centralized in one place. So this technology now is offered a centralized countywide program, meaning that we have a database containing all of our utility bills, which really in essence means that we have access to our present billing, our historical billing, and we can look at all those things. So when we say we want to reduce energy or water 20%, we can use this technology to look at our baseline, like pick a year. COVID is a great example. We were all looking at how much we saved with remote working while working at home. So we looked at the energy and water before COVID, and then during COVID, and now as operations and occupancies return to normal, what does that look like? So picking a baseline and being able to compare it, because you have all the data in one place, is pretty easy now. And so the database and the technology also allows us to have those bills audited upon import. So it's looking for anomalies, it's looking for errors or changes, and flagging those so that you can, give a special look to those to see if, they require further investigation. And again, being able to share this data to different audiences of different backgrounds and different needs is a very good thing for all of us. I'm sure all of you can relate to that, right? You're trying to figure out how to convey that information in a way that everyone that needs it gets it and can use it. And I think the technology also allows us to focus our efforts more on saving the energy and water, right? Because all of my time before used to be just trying to get the data together, put it in a graph form or put it in a spreadsheet or, whatever I needed. But now I can spend more time on what does the report mean? Did the water use go up or down? And we had a little project, where we changed some lights in a courthouse. I was able to use the CAP part of Energy Cap, the cost avoidance program, and I could look at how much we saved, or that cost avoidance, after the LED light change. So the technology has really made it easy to focus on the end result of the information that you're looking for. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I love to hear that. It's so important because you've got so many fabulous, super intelligent, driven people like yourself at these organizations who are drowning in spreadsheets, which is just really not a valuable use of their time. So it's great to hear that technology's enabled you to kind of pull out from that and focus on the things that really matter and executing projects that are truly saving money and energy. So that's great.
Or the opposite, Amber, I'm sorry, but the opposite can be true sometimes. Maybe the project isn't saving as much as you thought and you need to revisit it too. So, the technology helps you there too. So, being able to spend the time on the results of the data allows you to further improve what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
so
it comes down to really understanding what's happening in your buildings, whether it's good or bad, right? So that you can make smart choices and decisions moving forward. Data-driven decisions, as we would say on our website. Awesome. Well, changing gears a little bit, I'd love to hear from you about one of your favorite projects that you've executed in your time, in your career, and why it's your favorite.
I'm not sure it's my favorite. It's definitely the one
Most
I'm most
memorable?
proud of. Right. Definitely the one I'm most proud of because it took a level of effort across the departments and backgrounds in the departments and the utility. And that was our WASD implementation project. So we've been using Energy Cap for a long time, since 2012 for our Florida, our utility bills for electricity. And then when we had the opportunity, we were able to add the water and sewer bills to Energy Cap. And so this started with identifying the county accounts. I mean, it sounds crazy, but the county as a whole didn't have one centralized list of all of our accounts. And the utility also did not have a list of county specific accounts. So prior to Energy Cap in this project, we really couldn't say exactly how much water we were using, right? Because we'd have to collect it from all the departments. And if the departments changed over time and staff changed and retired, it really was difficult to collect this information and keep it going. So comparing those baselines and comparing past years was very challenging. And so with Energy Cap and identifying our accounts, both at the utility and both in this centralized database, we now can do the same thing with water that we do for energy. We can look and see at the changes in the bills, look at the anomalies and the outliers and, analyze it the same way. And cost avoidance, if we have projects where we're retrofitting, some of our fixtures and things like that, helps us identify leaks even sometimes because a bill comes in and if it's underground or concealed, it might not be recognizable right away. So as soon as the bill comes in that day and we see that it's really an outlier, we immediately can send staff out to the site to investigate. So it's helped save money that way too, and discover leaks that otherwise might not be found right away because they're underground or concealed. And so this is a big deal for us. As you heard in the beginning, how many accounts we have. So we have a few thousand accounts with them. And so this really helps all the departments understand their bills from a cost perspective for their budgets, but also their use for tackling the initiatives that the county has.
That's great. I'm in California and I'm sure it's very similar in Florida, but water is a precious resource. So anything you can do to work to conserve water, it's fantastic.
Right. Yes. So this helps.
Yes, it's great. So we were chatting a little bit before we hopped on the live, and we were talking about all of the exciting things that are happening in this industry outside of data and buildings even. So there's, carbon capture cement technology and, new composting technology and microgrid solar and renewable, implementations. But I think the question I'm really excited to ask you is, what excites you the most about what's happening in our industry right now? It can be broad, it can be focused on what you're working on, just in general. What gets you excited?
Wow. Well, there's a lot that gets me excited. This is the reason I went back to school. Actually, I was a non-traditional student because I decided after hearing 3 days of people talking about problems and solutions, I left there thinking I'm going to be part of the solution. And so it changed the trajectory of my professional career. And so when I think about the future of energy management and sustainability, I've heard a lot of our speakers already talk about some really great things. So all of those also are important. And I'll just add that I'm most excited sometimes when people from all backgrounds, right? Ages, socio and economic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, whatever the case may be, they're all participating in the conversations and they're thinking about their impact on the planet. And I think that's really important. And these topics can be very complex. And so, meeting people where they are and having these discussions, so how we can all participate and we can all make a difference, I think is really important because it's going to take all of us to lessen that footprint we're going to leave behind when we're long gone and our descendants are here. So I think that's exciting is all of us coming together to work on it.
Yes, I could not agree more. That's what gets me fired up in the morning too, is, how can we go out there and help everyone realize that their impact, however small or large it may be, matters and it's making a difference. So
Correct.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, the last question that we always ask our guests is, what advice would you give to others who are looking to accomplish what you've accomplished or something similar?
Yeah, advice is tricky, right? I'm not one to usually give people advice, to be honest. And I've heard a lot of great advice, and I do accept advice myself. So, trying to give some advice, I think a lot of us on this call are data nerds, and we've talked about some specifics of the data and best practices, right, to help. But at the end of the day, communicating that complicated information and technical information has to be in a way that the receiver understands it. So spending some time figuring out how that can be conveyed in a way that people can look at it and use it is very important, because a lot of people I work with, my own friends and family, if I show them graphs and charts and trend lines, their eyes are glassed over. They already have checked out. And so, data visualization and infographics is so important, and it's definitely not my area. As an engineer, artistic abilities, did not find their way to me. But I can partner with someone that is great at data visualization, so they can take that data and convey one point. So, I think that would be some advice, is to focus on your point that you want to make and how you're going to convey it, and partner with someone maybe that can create an infographic or some type of document that is easily looked at or read, and right away people know what you're trying to say with the data. And I know there's some great courses out there. I sat in on a webinar about a course on just data visualization about this very thing. So it's definitely part of the future. People being, gifted in this area to share this technical data that a lot of us data nerds like to put out there. So
Yeah.
I'll leave that with you there. Thank you.
Well, that is music to a marketer's ears. It really all comes down to something you said earlier, meeting people where they are, right? And knowing your audience and what matters to them, right? And the data, it's important to have backup with the data, but it's all about how you tell the story. And I think, holistically, as we approach climate change, we're going to have to continue to tell these stories and help people understand how they can make a difference and how what they're doing is making a difference, so they continue to take those efforts. So that's great,
Right.
Michelle. I love to hear it. And maybe
Right.
we'll put on a course on how to how to
Never
visualize your
know.
data and tell a story. That's
The
something I could
future,
help with.
right? The future to be told still. So,
Yeah.
but I'll just add real quick: meeting people where they are, makes me think sometimes when I have data and I try to talk to maybe a building manager, meeting them where they are, because I don't know all the problems they have in their building. So for me to say, here's the energy you're using and you need to reduce it 20%, it's a nice goal, but the reality is they have things there that I don't know about. And so finding out what they think can happen to make that change, what they need, is it equipment, is it, staff resources, what do they think about reaching that goal? So that applies to the community too. When you go into communities and talk to them about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, saving energy, which saves money, which all of us want to save money, especially with the recent gas price hikes. It's very important. And so understanding what the people you're talking to need and what they think is important compared to what you think is important is really a big deal, I think. And
Yeah.
so, right. So it has to be part of the conversation. It's two ways. So
I'm so glad you said that, because actually a couple of weeks ago, Alex Trachtenberg said something very similar, that much of his job, he's also was with the county, Fulton County. A big part of his job is just listening.
right.
Obviously presenting the information, presenting the goals and ideas and strategies, but also listening to figure out how you can actually activate those without disrupting the course of people's lives, right? So I think
Exactly.
so important, Michelle.
Exactly. Go Alex. He knows.
Yeah.
Listening is first. So that's
Yes.
awesome. I'm just piggybacking on his advice.
I love it. I love it. Well, we have a question from the audience.
Oh, well, goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So this says, Michelle, you mentioned about electric vehicle chargers located downtown. Are you allowing the public to charge their vehicles for free?
Well, I'm not part of that project, right? So I don't have all the particulars of how they are funding those and how that is going. I do think that there is a charge to the public, and I know that they were working through what makes sense, looking at I think like national data, working with the companies that actually supply the chargers and the equipment and what makes sense out there. I know I there were talks about that, and I don't know where they landed. But I think that it can serve both the public, and it's cheaper than what they would pay for gas for those same distances. So they do save money. And then, of course, the externalities of all the cost of carbon, if you will, if you factor all that in, saves the community in a lot of ways too. But yes, there will be a charge for the use of charging.
That's great. I know a lot of counties and cities are looking to take advantage of some of these new infrastructure bills, specifically for EV projects, but a multitude of other projects. Do you have any insight into the county's plans to take advantage of some of these federal dollars that are coming in with all the bills being passed?
Well, there's a couple things. One that you didn't mention, I'll just say with the VW settlement, I know that they were specifically using some of that money for looking at electric buses and also for the electrical vehicle charging and creating a corridor and things like that, if you will. So that is definitely a focus. And then from the federal aspect, it's not part of the work I'm specifically doing, looking for grants and whatnot, but I do know and have participated in calls where they are looking at all those opportunities, and we have a department that just specifically handles those things and then works on meeting the application requirements and all of those things that go along with that. And if anyone on the calls participated, that they have calls teaching you just how to fill out the application, right, and are available to answer questions when you do that. But if anyone on this call has questions, I can put you in touch with the people in the county that would be more knowledgeable about where they are with that process. But I do know that they are seeking any and all dollars they can to advance our goals.
Yeah, that's great. It's exciting to think about where we'll be in 10, 15 years and the infrastructure for EV and all of that. It's very exciting to think about.
It is crazy. It's like probably the times when people were going from horse and buggy to cars or
Yes.
before cell phones to cell phones. Like this is definitely one of those you'll look back and see, that time where it changed from this to that,
Right.
in many ways.
Yeah, it is. It is a monumental moment in time
I think it
that
could
we're
be.
experiencing.
I think so. I hope
Well,
I live long enough to see it. That's all. See some of it.
it seems to be progressing really quickly. So I have no doubt that in our lifetime, we'll see some pretty significant infrastructure changes. Hopefully.
Well, definitely yours for sure.
Well,
Thank you.
Michelle, you are just the best. Thank you so much for always lending your voice and your ideas to our community. We appreciate you for your willingness to share with everyone. So thank you for being here with us.
No, thank you, Amber. And Corey behind the scenes, thank you to you too.
Yes, none of this would be possible without Corey Smith, who produces all of these webinars for you guys. So if you enjoy this content, here's a shout out for Corey. Thank you for all you do. Yes. And for those who are on the call, thank you for joining us as well. As I mentioned, this is recorded and it will be available within 24 hours. Thanks to Corey. And if you do have any questions for Michelle, we'll also follow up with an email, and I'll include her email address. She gave me permission, so you can reach out to Michelle with any follow-up questions. And if you haven't had a chance to check out our ebook on 1,000 years of energy and sustainability excellence, we surveyed over 65 energy and sustainability professionals in the industry and asked them for their advice and best practices. And we combined all of the results and responses into one place in our newest ebook. So please go and check it out. We'll also include a link to that resource to you in the email that we follow up with. So thank you all for being here and participating in our Eco Champions community. Stay tuned for more events like this and live in-person events in the future. Hope everyone has a great day. Thanks again, Michelle.
Yes, thank you to the listeners and to Energy Cap. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Yes. Talk to you soon, Michelle. Bye.
Bye.